Welcome back to codingcat.dev, where we give you cats the freshest dose of dev snacks. Here is Alex Patterson and Brittany Postma. This episode brought to you by Storyblok. Build anything and publish everywhere. Brought to you by Jamstack Conf. Come join us in San Francisco on November 6th and 7th. Register at jamstack.org. Wow, so we actually have Storyblok people on our Storyblok sponsored episode. This is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I think it only took us, I don't know, 6 months plus maybe to get you guys on. I mean, right?
Oh, schedules are crazy right now, aren't they?
Schedules are crazy, for sure.
Times, yeah.
If you don't mind, would you both introduce yourself? Josephine, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Josephine. I'm based in Germany, and I'm part of the developer relations team at Storyblok. And I work there with Alex. I might hand it over.
Same thing with Josephine. I develop relations at Storyblok. Maybe you know me by ViewDose, which is a blog where I used to share a lot of Vue and Next tips. And I live in Spain, but right now I'm in Brussels because we have a conference tomorrow. So I'm in the hotel right now.
Oh boy, DevRel life, huh?
Yeah, the real life.
At least we get to travel again. I mean, that's the exciting part. That 2-year hiatus was no fun for anybody.
Totally.
It's super exciting, but also, for me at least, very overwhelming. Like all the FOMO, you want to be everywhere, you can't, and then everything's going on, and people, and yeah.
Absolutely.
I said that on Twitter last week. I saw a different conference. Everyone was at a different conference. There were 10 going on at the same time. I'm like, how are there so many?
Yeah.
Yes. Also, we have an inside joke because usually people see DevRel as a very cool job, which actually it's, in my opinion. But also we do so many things that can be crazy at some point. So in the first conference we went after COVID, I was with my colleague Arisa in London, and I posted a picture on Twitter. They say it was cool, the real life, and I was me with boxes, transporting boxes from one place to another, like an Amazon delivery guy.
I think you almost have to be a super celebrity status in DevRel for it to be this amazing, trippy thing. Otherwise, it's just fun work. I mean, you get to meet fun people, travel fun places, but it is work.
It is.
You have to like it, yeah.
Awesome. I know we kind of originally were thinking about chatting about Svelte because Brittany and Josephine have talked a lot about Svelte and accessibility and things like that. I think we are still going to head down that road and kind of tie in the Storyblok connection as we go. So Britt, do you want to go through our question list?
I think we've got a journey that we can tie back in. It's going to be a story. So
a story, maybe
first,
a block of stories.
A story block of yes, all the story puns you can think of. So first, I want to know why is accessibility and DX important to both of you? And I'll go with Josephine first.
Sure. So I think they kind of, in a lot of places, go a little bit hand in hand, right? And when I first came to web development, I came from a very different background, and I was kind of forced into head first. I had no idea what was going on and got into accessibility. And from the start, I was like, okay, so I thought, well, everybody's doing this, right? And only later figured that no, that's not the case. And I think our goal as developers, as designers, as anybody creating anything on the web should be to make our content, everything that we do, as inclusive as it can possibly be. And accessibility is, for me, at the core of this. So we want as many people to be able to interact with our content, right? And as for developer experience, this is kind of the other side of the medal, if you will. So we want to make it as easy for people as possible to create this accessible and inclusive content. And for me, that is what DX is in part about, to make it,
make it easy for people to make the right choices.
Exactly. I was just going to say, I feel like that was a phrase that came up. I was just listening to your old episode and I was like, this is so smart. I need to steal this. Yeah.
It was something I never really thought about, and you kind of just like it sparked something in my mind. I always think about accessibility as the end product, but we really need to also think about accessibility as the headless CMSs and the build product behind the scenes. And I never really think about it that way.
Yeah. Alex, do you want to give us your perspective on like what you think developer experience and how accessibility plays a part in that?
That's a good point. Maybe you want to answer that one, Josephine, because
Oh, she just answered it. I just didn't know if you had anything to add on it.
I cannot say much about accessibility because I had to say not expert on that, but Josephine is the one. What I can say about the developer experience is that usually the way I describe it is that it's user experience for developers.
Yeah.
And at the end is about making difficult things easy, which actually is difficult for the developer that creates the tools and everything for developers. But when you create a tool that is as easy to use that you don't even notice, that's where you achieve good DX.
And I think that's where Svelte's going to come into play a little bit, is that we can create tools as developers that actually help the people. You have a lot to think about when you're creating an application, right? So having to think about all of the accessibility things on top of that is another layer. And so creating tools that can help the developer as they're creating to think about accessibility first, I think is important. And so Josephine or Alex, either one of you can answer this. How does Svelte come into that, and how does it help that accessibility piece?
Yeah, when I first learned about Svelte, I was super intrigued because like one of the taglines is that it's accessibility first, right? And I was like, if you write that on your flag, I'm on your team. Like, this is so cool. And so what I feel like it does for me is it makes it easier, like we just said before, it makes it so much easier to think of these things. So I have, for example, these compiler warnings where like if I forget to add the alt attribute, for example, it's going to remind me. And that's so nice because we're human, we forget things. And it's good to be reminded of things, or that the path is already kind of paved, right? I just was working on my portfolio and just playing around with things. And then you have this thing that you can add in the title where it announces if a page changes, and it just says the title of the page for the screen reader, for example. And all these like super small, like they seem like small things, but they're making such a big difference. And this is like for me, that is DX, that it's like kind of part of the product. It makes my job easier. It makes the journey shorter to achieve what I want to do, right? It's all in the toolbox, and that's like super, super helpful.
And to make it correct, like from the get-go, instead of having to go back and correct mistakes. I had something from an old site that they've updated some of the compiler and IntelliSense warnings, and it was nice to like just see that visually when I was running my site locally.
Yeah, totally. Because that's going to be so much more work if you have to work the accessibility parts into a legacy project that is a little bit rusty and messed up, maybe. In many places, it's going to be so much more work.
Absolutely. So I think that maybe like starting your journey with Svelte, you see that DX is better because you have those accessibility tips while you're building your project.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's already or if the journey as a developer is already easier, I'm not saying Svelte is like easy per se, but easier, maybe then you have more headspace to think about these things. So how can I make it more inclusive? How can I get more people to be able to do this or that? And you can think of additional things that you would otherwise miss if you're super busy just trying to get it to work when it doesn't. So it just gives you time.
Yes, completely agree. You have anything to add? No? Good. Okay, so
I was just kind of the one thing that I keep thinking about is the difference on accessibility within the different frameworks themselves. I felt like for a long time, Angular did a really good job of including this within their tooling and their CLI and everything else. I don't know, from the Svelte perspective, what does that look like? I know both of you are Svelte fans. Is that something that they think about and it's included automatically?
Yeah. So It's included automatically. You get IntelliSense warnings in VS Code, and then you get compiler warnings output into your terminal. When you're doing something that is inaccessible, it will warn you and tell you to do it the correct way.
So that's
and how to do it.
And the pieces that you were talking about, that was already part of Svelte, or that's a VS Code plugin for it?
There is Svelte for VS Code, which is a plugin that does add some of the IntelliSense features, but the compiler warnings are a part of Svelte, and those are thought out, and they are adding to them constantly.
That's great. That's really cool. I don't know about like Remix and stuff. I haven't dove into the accessibility side on that yet.
I've played with Remix, but I haven't seen any accessibility warnings in it. So I don't know. Maybe it's not something that their foresight is thinking about like right now. But
I haven't seen that in Next.js much either. But maybe I'm just missing something. And this is great that we're talking about it, because I think it really highlights like we need to keep talking about accessibility. So
I think I was watching Rich's talk back today from VConf, and something that he said that because it's a compiler, it can provide some of these things that a lot of these other frameworks can't, because it works differently, because it can compile them out. So you're getting those compiler warnings because it's compiling your code and seeing what you're doing.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it might be worth pointing out that, of course, it doesn't catch everything. So there's still a lot of things that we still have to pay attention to. We have to still test automatically and manually, for sure. Things like visual things like color contrast or motion things, all these, or the tab order isn't entirely like accounted for. Yet it's a start, right? And once you're in it, it's easier to build on that. And I don't know, how is that in Vue, Alex? Do they have built-in features?
As far as I know, in Vue, there is nothing built in like that in Svelte, which I find very, very cool, because, of course, I can imagine that accessibility has a lot to do with strategy and doing manual things like the color contrast and here and that. But if you have a tool that covers the basics, let's say these area labels or the order of the form or this or that, that's pretty amazing. I mean, at least you have a base level covered, right?
Yep. Yeah. Tools can only take you so far, but they give you that good foundation that will allow you to build up on it and then go and use other things. There are other tools out there, like online sites that you can visit, that will actually test your color contrast and things for you. And getting the full depth of like the whole, is it W3C's like whole spec of accessibility, and trying to, you would have to, that's your full-time job just to know all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But it also gets the conversation started, right? Like if you are in your code and you're just working, you're not thinking about accessibility necessarily, and then you get these warnings, you're like, hey, I didn't think of that. What else is out there, right? So maybe if you're not like super in that community, it's gonna give you a little nudge to investigate a little further. So I think like just for this, it's already pretty great that it's there.
Absolutely. And I think we'll take a little ad break, and then maybe when we come back, we'll see how Storyblok actually ties into all of this.
Well, this is going to throw me off. I usually click the button. Are you doing it?
I know. I don't know. I don't have enough. I'm expecting you to like read my
usually
cues.
Always announce the ad break. You like really like threw me off there. Okay, here we go.
We know that creating content can be a tedious balancing act. Developers want flexibility to make seamless digital experiences, while content teams need the tools to work independently. We make changes and are left to watch everything fall apart. We met our limits using plugin after plugin and waiting weeks for edits. All for this. We knew it was time to rebuild the blocks. Storyblok gives marketers creative control and use a visual editor to actually see what they're doing. And developers are no longer restrained to a set of technology. Storyblok has made it simple for each market with localization and personalization tools, and allows you to publish content on all channels and all devices. Truthfully, we all wanted the same thing: to deliver the right information to the right destination at the right time.
Jamstack Conf is back in person, and we are going all out. Come meet the people who are building the future of web development, from the minds behind Dino and Netlify to the open source builders working on Astro, Solid, 11D, Angular, and more. Ask questions about what's coming to the modern web directly to the people building it. Hang out with fellow web devs and have fun connecting to the community in a gorgeous rooftop setting. Taking place November 7th and 8th in the heart of San Francisco, Jamstack Conf is a celebration of web development that includes more than 30 speakers, 40 booths, and hundreds of developers, and a few more surprises. Don't miss out and get your ticket or check out the agenda now on jamstack.org/conf. We can't wait to see you there.
I have to say, there's a pretty good tie-in here because if I share my screen real quick, you'll notice one of the top sponsors for Jamstack Conf is Storyblok.
It goes full circle.
It does.
It's a small community out here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We are starting to be too much everywhere. But yeah, actually, I think it's Facundo, Marco, and Kat from our team, the ones that will be there. So yeah, feel free to meet them.
Oh,
I think you
yes.
already know Facundo.
And I will be there
Yeah.
too.
I've
Facundo.
never heard of Facundo. Have you, Brett?
Yeah.
We
He
love-
was
we
the
love-
first one that we got to meet and have on for Storyblok. It was awesome.
Yeah, love talking to
Such a great
Facundo.
person.
So with that kind of shift in thought, can we talk about Storyblok a little bit and kind of how that might even impact the accessibility side, but how you build things with Storyblok?
Oh, good question.
I'm happy to open it up like the console or whatever too.
Yeah, maybe we can show some code and the Storyblok interface, but just for the ones that are there and haven't played with the Storyblok, if you are not familiar with a headless CMS, let's say at least you should know WordPress, because otherwise you will be living in a cave, right? And I don't think you are living in a cave. So in traditional CMSs, usually the front end and the content, they are tied together, which could be nice, for example, for people that are not developers or for just small freelancers that are not technical. But once you scale or you want to have more control of your code, then a headless CMS separates the content from the front end, meaning that you can use Vue, Svelte, Next, SvelteKit, whatever, and handle your content separately. What's usually the problem? The problem is that then you handle the content with forms in one side, and you have the front end in the other side, but you don't see how it looks until you deploy everything together or you set up your own developer environment, right?
Yeah.
So in Storyblok, we have the visual editor, which we can show just in a few minutes, and it ties both things together. So you will have your website real time with a preview, and you can change things and see how it looks at the right moment.
Awesome. That is really cool. Too, before we get too far into this, I forgot that at Svelte Summit, we were there and Storyblok threw out all the stops with like the booth and having the Tetris game. And so I'm wondering what you have up your sleeves for Jamstack Conf. Are there any spoilers with what's coming?
Maybe you will see something new, but the Tetris game, for sure, you will find it. So you can start practicing already, Brittany.
I was going to say, it will always pay off if you like up your Tetris game.
Nice. Yes. I thought it was such a brilliant idea to get people to your booth. Like, I was so jealous. Everybody was over there playing Tetris.
Yeah, people seem to really love it. We had an internal competition as well, actually, and people went mad. Like it was really wild. Like on the off side, everybody was just like, no, we don't talk to each other. We just improve our Tetris score, and we had somebody coaching us, and it's really fun.
Well, it's kind of a brilliant marketing ploy too, because it's blocks being put together. That all just came to me. Anyways, okay, so do we want to look at some Storyblok code? Do we want to try to like dive into some code and see if we can demo this? Are we going to use Svelte, or are we going to let Alex code in, the other Alex code in Svelte? Or do you want me to do it?
It's all possible.
I can start off by showing a console if you guys want.
Like the dashboard?
The dashboard,
Okay, yeah.
I always call it console. At AppRite, we call it console. So. So this is Storyblok. However, I think and maybe there's a divergence here somewhere, but there's like a V2 out there too. So I have this old Tailwind sample, but I think what I'm going to do is just create an example space. Does that work for everybody?
Was that true that there's a version 2 of this? Is this like an old?
This is version 2.
Oh,
so
okay.
we have just released. Oh, I'm so sorry. My cat is making a lot of noise in the
We
background.
love cats. That's totally fine.
All the
Yeah,
cat noises.
cats, you
Zena
could
likes
throw
to
'em on.
meow.
Yeah.
So
Taking things apart. Anyway, I was going to say this is version 2. So you are already in the latest version, and we had an update in August, I think it was. But whenever you start something now, this is already the latest.
nice.
Perfect. So I'm going to jump into what I'll call Coding Cat Dev Storyblok. So this is cool. So this actually like starts your entire journey, and you guys are gonna desperately want me to pick Svelte, aren't you?
Obviously, it's we gotta go down the page. We need to get that above the fold.
Oh yeah, there's these people probably sponsor somewhere. I guarantee it. So
Now
let me
we're going to find all the things we need to improve in our documentation.
Yeah, I was going to say, like Alex is seeing my pulse go up because there are a couple of things that need to be fixed here, but I'm not pointing them out.
I think this is okay. We can talk about it. We're all friends here.
I think we can all talk about it. And SvelteKit has been through some stuff in the last month and a half, so we can be kind in this community. And yeah.
No, but what you could do if you wanted to set up your first project is return to your, there we go. This getting started tab is, you can browse your documentation. We always look for feedback. But if you're there, this is just to get you an overview and guide you if you have to want to go anywhere. If you move over to your dashboard, no, wait, to the content. This is so weird guiding somebody else. Yeah, here you get an overview of everything that's going on. That's not so interesting. And then in the content, you have now your this is like a sample. You created an example space, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
It looks like everything was generated already.
Yeah, okay. You can do that. If you open, for example, the home story, the first one in the list there, you'll get to the visual editor. And
so notice the DevRel just said the story. See how we're going from story, and I think the next part will be coming.
To the blocks?
Yes.
Apparently there's a little tour. I have never seen this. It's cool.
Check that out.
Oh, it shows the whole thing off. Nice.
Yeah,
Visual editor toggle. See, I haven't been in V2 yet. I told you it's been too long.
This is our day-to-day work. So the product team is always pushing new things every day. And when we are in calls with customers or giving a talk in a conference, then we find out things live in stage.
It's awesome.
It happens to all of us. As close as the engineering team wants to be to the DevRel team, it's still a different team.
Different team. And you have surprises. So what's more fun?
So the idea here is like this should be my live page at the end of the day, correct? What is there a way to look at the different blocks like in here or something? How do I look at this page from a block level?
There is. So actually all the things that you see in the right side, those are the different blocks with pre-filled data, pre-filled content. And these blocks or components, you create it yourself. I mean, in this case, of course, for the demo, they are pre-created with some content, but these headlines, headline buttons, this is something you have full control, 100% control to create and create all the fields that you want. And of course, then later you will have to implement it in Svelte or
that's what I was going to ask is there any straightforward path of just taking this and converting it straight into a framework?
Not right now, because also it depends a lot on the markup and everything.
Yeah.
But we have the SDK, which makes it quite easy compared to how it used to be before.
Okay.
So with the SDK, you can create. So for example, do you see those 4 icons, Alex, up there? Can you click the one, block library? The one on
right.
the right?
There
Yes.
you go.
When you open that, you will see here all the components that are created in this space in Storyblok. What you have to do in Svelte is for each of these components, you will create this Svelte equivalent with the same fields. And those components in Svelte, they receive the block as a property. So you just have to render every field just as you wish to represent it.
So you actually have to basically call the Storyblok API and pull in for how you want. It doesn't go to the HTML and then you could grab the markup. Okay.
No, you have full control on the HTML. That's the cool part for a developer, especially.
I think I read over here we could try this in 5 minutes. Is that true? Do you think we could actually make this happen?
What would you say, Josie?
Josephine is very nervous about this post.
Everyone does.
So there are many different routes you can go here. You could, for example, now you created an example space that has like all the mock content and some structures already. If you were to do the other option, create it from scratch, it's going to guide you through how you can set up your project with the code.
Oh, I like that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's go back through. Sure, I didn't change anything. We're gonna make a new space.
Yeah, and then
called CCD Svelte.
I think what you did is added a space in the component. Like in the home page, you added a space before it. And so that's
I thought I was doing something wrong right now. I'm like,
no,
I'm
no,
only
before.
typing a title. Brittany likes to pair program with me, and like she freaks me out all the time. Like, don't do that. I'm like, okay.
And now it guides you through basically, right? So you can copy that.
Sweet. I need to share differently for doing this. So just one sec. Why don't you guys like tell cat jokes or something, and I'll share differently.
Yeah, you shouldn't have kicked your cat out. You should have brought it on. Show.
You want me to go get him?
What's your cat's name?
Tabby. He actually met Alex as well. Like, Alex came to Hamburg once, and Tabby and him, really got along well.
Nice.
Tabby likes a lot to scare me while I'm sleeping siesta. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, he's a little creep. Yeah.
I'm going to bump this up and see if we can.
I have a question while we're doing this too. Is Svelte and Storyblok the power couple for improving your DX and accessibility?
Power.
Well, I hope it will be in the near future.
Okay.
Because I mean, in theory, they're made for each other, right? Like thinking in components, focus on performance and on accessibility. For example, there's a bunch of things you can do in Storyblok as well to improve accessibility. So I think they really like go hand in hand. Once we get over the little rough patch that we have for the latest release, then we're.
Don't select that. I don't know is that Svelte or SvelteKit?
That's the only option, so that will be SvelteKit.
Okay.
You can go with that or any other framework of your choice. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing Svelte.
Let's do
let's do it. I'm sweating.
Oh, there's no PNPM choice.
Brittany's hot on PNPM right now, guys.
I just told Alex my favorite comment that Rich made at VietConf was, while installing with PNPM, he said, of course you can use NPM if you want slow things. It's amazing. All the spice.
Yeah, you sure can. It's just not going to be as good.
Let me do npm install, npm run dev, and sudo password. No thanks. What is it asking my sudo password for?
Because you ran npx.
npx is in my npm subdirectory though. This is weird. I don't like that.
We didn't do that.
I never seen that.
Oh my gosh. Why?
Start editing,
You,
editor.
you know, Alex, was the usual joke, right? It works on my computer
Yes, I just saw a nice meme on that one.
with cats.
You know what? I think I know why. I'm gonna start over really quickly.
Are you in the wrong folder or something?
Yeah, I think I'm in my main directory and I need
Oh,
to be here. Okay, let's try this again. Real quick.
there's a cat.
Yep.
Oops.
Okay. Yeah, now we didn't get any issues that time.
I'm not quite there yet. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know why npm run dev would ask for that. Is so weird to me. I don't like that at all, but I will give away the kingdom. Why not?
Is that package that I know there's a package that Storyblok needs to add for secure local server? Is that something that might make this pop up?
That should come later, actually.
Oh, okay. It's not even in there yet.
Or well, at least in the 5-minute tutorial that will come.
During this recording, we actually ran into a small issue with the demo that we were working with, and we had to switch from an anticipated European version to US, and I'm going to show that off later, but I just wanted to show you this error in case you've run into it when dealing with Storyblok. If you're in a different region like we were in the US, you actually have to specify an API options this region and then US, or the region that you actually are located in. So once you drop your token in, you can then do npm run dev, and this will spin up the correct instance where we're connecting out. So once you have that, you'll get the nice hello world with the different feature blocks coming direct. And so then once you have that updated, you will actually be able to open this up and you'll get the blocks directly from content block. After this, Alex is going to demonstrate some more useful features in Storyblok.
No, but what we would hope would work, yes, this starts like a little bit older version of SweltKit, but we would assume a project is set up with, I think, 4 different blocks that you can then already use in your project. It helps you set up the Storyblok bridge, which is what enables the live editing. So it's you can add, or well, you install it from Storyblok, from our SDK, but it enables you to connect each block to the editable part in the visual editor, right?
Yep, that totally makes sense.
Maybe I can show my screen, Alex, because actually there are 2 ways that you can use Storyblok as well. One is the one that you have been following, which is using the CLI, and then it will create the project with all the basics for you to start. But it's true that maybe there are a few things we need to
mine is asking.
in the SweltKit area because of these breaking changes and everything. So if it doesn't work, I can also show my screen and share some code on how you can integrate Storyblok with your Svelte project. Good. So I will show you, and actually this is a public demo of the Svelte SDK that we can share later also, and you can play with it. And let me show you the only 3 steps that you need to follow to integrate Storyblok in your Svelte project. So first, you would install our SDK, the latest version. And for now, but I hope just for a few weeks, you need Axios, but yeah, you will not need it. Actually, we have already a release candidate of our package without Axios under the hood.
Oh, nice.
So it should be published very soon. First, you will install it, latest version. Second step would be to go to your main.js. And in here, you will initialize, you would call the Storyblok init from this SDK but to initialize the Storyblok project. In there, you will put the access token, which you can find in your space. To be precise, in your settings access token, where you have your public or preview token. You will put it in the code, preferably in an environment variable instead of here. So this is just a demo. And then you can also globally load all the components that your project is using.
Mhm.
This is very convenient because then you don't have to import them here and there. And the last step would be that in your page, you have to actually 3 utilities that we give you to make everything easier. One is the use Storyblok API that you can use to call the right story, which in this case is the home story of the space. And the use Storyblok bridge, which will give you the real-time editing functionality. You're going to see that just in a moment. And the good part of globally loading the components like this is that you can use the Storyblok component utility that we give you, passing the block, which comes on the story content, and automatically will render the whole page from the Storyblok story.
Does this SDK also run on the server?
It does.
Okay, so if we were running on SvelteKit, we could do this on the server and then pull all that data into the front end.
And it will hydrate in the front end. Yes, that's the
Okay.
way. Actually, I can show a SvelteKit demo afterwards. That's how it works in a SvelteKit as well. But at least we can see how to do this in a SvelteKit. And last but not least, as I mentioned before, all the components that you have in the space, I can show it to you if I go back to the homepage. This is actually a very simple case, right? So in this case, we just have the feature, the grid, the input, and the teaser. And then the page, which is the root content type, right? For each of these components, I have the Svelte implementation here. And the only thing it needs is...
You're using a Svelte action.
Yes, we do. You will receive a block property as a parameter, and you need to pass this block to the use Storyblok editable action. And then magic happens.
Yeah. That's some Svelte magic right there.
Yeah. What do I mean by magic? I mean that when you go to Storyblok, you can connect it to your preview URL, which can be localhost, or as you can see, I'm using here the URL of this established demo. So literally, this is the established demo. But as you can see, I can click around and change things real time. So of course, you can fill all the content, you can drag and drop the different blocks, you can create new blocks from the components that you have already there. And no, I actually don't have this one implemented, but I could add a new teaser, I guess. Hello, Tabby. And yeah, literally, as a content editor, using the components you provide them, they will be able to create a whole website, even with a header, footer. Doesn't need to be necessarily a website. It can be an application or just even not visual content. But by following these steps, you will have this working and with the real-time editing even. And
this is syncing to the local host running version, or is it? I see the URL there that has like local web container.
You could have actually different environments. So the content is the same. If I set the content and I run this project in localhost, the only thing I need to do is go here and use this localhost 3000. But as you can see, I have many preview URLs because this is the demo we use also for the React SDK, the Vue 2, Next. So yeah, you can connect to many preview URLs. Usual case is you connect to a dev or preview environment, which can be localhost or some Netlify or Vercel URL. You can have a staging and a production environment, and they are all here in the same space.
I have one more question. When we're talking about all of the blocks that exist, I used to work at Builder.io, and we could make custom like React components that we could like use back and forth between there. Is there an idea of a custom block as well in Storyblok?
What do you mean by custom block?
So like if, what's a good example? If I want to put a data grid that comes out of a package in React, and I want that to become one of my blocks, is that a possibility?
Basically going the other way, so coming from the code to a block.
Anything there,
Actually,
huh?
we don't. If I understand correctly, I think it's also a thing that probably in other systems they have like predefined components. In a Storyblok, everything is a custom component, so
Okay.
there is no components by default. You will create both the data structure in a Storyblok and then the implementation in Svelte, Vue, React, or whatever technology,
Yeah.
and then you connect them together. But we don't enforce you anything, so everything you are totally free to create it. Which maybe brings you to the question, okay, but if I have an agency and I do every project, should I do the same thing again? Not necessarily. We have some partners that they use our CLI to clone or duplicate spaces or even transfer components from one space to the other. So they usually create their own, let's say, set of UI components, and they copy them to all the other projects where they use it. So from that point, they just have to tweak it, and maybe most on the implementation, not in the data structure. So they have all fully set up by that.
Cool. And then you have different, like the two different types are universal. There's the nestable blocks and the content type blocks that you can use, like post authors, things like that.
Yeah, and with the new normal, the version 2 that is now out of Storyblok, you also have a new universal block, so you can use that as either one of them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Third kind of block.
That's awesome.
Yes,
What do we
blocks.
Don't block the blocks. What do we miss about Storyblok before we shift? Anything? What should people try?
Maybe we can mention the ambassador program, which
I was going to say the same thing. Yay!
Too much time working together. Now we are synchronized. So we are rebuilding the ambassador program, and probably will be out in a month or maximum 2. And the reason is because we used to have it, then we stopped being active in our own ambassador program, but now we are renewing it with new perks, with career support, with also support going to conferences or maybe sponsorships options as well. Of course, internal calls and having fun. So yeah, we have a URL. We have a link that I'm not sure if we published today or we have in draft. We published it already, where the people can join a waiting list for when we open the final registration.
Awesome.
Maybe we can share that as well.
Yeah. That brought up another question for me too. Where would people go to get help and support? Is there a Discord server or like feedback?
Yeah, there are many different ways. So there is the Discord as well. We try to answer as quickly as we can, but depending on the capacities of people, it might take a little while, but we try. So be kind with us. And then Twitter is also a way. We have a support chat, like I think it's called a crisp chat. So where people can just ask their question and our support is going to help. If you have a feature request, you can also submit an issue on GitHub, for example, or submit a feature request. So there are a bit too many ways maybe to get in touch with us. But those are the ways that I'm aware of. Alex, did I miss any one of them? No.
I don't think so. No.
Or hunt us down because we're at all the conferences. One of us is. Come find us, play some Tetris, and then hunt us down with all your bugs or whatever is going wrong or you need help with.
I love the Tetris. I've only played like electronica, not ping pong. What's the paddle one?
Pong?
No, not Pong. What's like it had a marble
with the 2 sticks?
Yes.
Like,
what is that?
I don't remember, but I know which one you mean.
I can't even think of it. Pinball.
The pinball.
Oh, yeah, pinball.
Electronic pinball machine. It was pretty dope. I like that a lot.
Oh, okay.
I was laughing because you see the Tetris game like a very well thought thing, but a few months ago we were in the first conference we were just in a table with some stickers and nothing else. So we started to try things out, like the Tetris, water pong games we ran as well, also football games, and yeah, we ended up. I think that's a thing of Storyblok culture that we improve by experience. So we do it wrong, next time we do it less wrong, and next time we do it less wrong, but we keep failing and learning from experiences. So
that's awesome.
That's the best way to do it.
Okay. I think with all of that said, we're gonna shift into our perfect picks. And Brittany is actually gonna go first today. Are you ready, Brittany?
I guess, yeah. If you
Okay.
show my stuff.
I have to switch my screen. I forgot we were doing all the coding stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
So Getaco is my first pick. It is a GitHub extension, Chrome extension, I guess, for GitHub. So you can pull out, can you showcase, like, can you go to GitHub and
Yes,
showcase what it
I
does?
sure can. It's kind of
'Cause
bananas.
It's so cool.
Here's the app right one. It'll probably have more. Doop.
And then it gives you this whole tree so you don't have to go back and forth between files. So you can just see like your code editor, the whole repo, and just go jump to something else.
Which, if you're used to doing this, you usually have to go into app and then like browse around that.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And it has a fun little octopus hand. If I undo
I
this,
know.
it
Just like a little octopus hand is
hides over there.
It's so cute.
Just a little peek. But ever since she showed me, I have to leave it up all the time.
Yeah.
What's your second pick?
My second pick is House of the Dragon. We finally, like, we wait until the end of like where it's coming to the close of the show so we can just watch more than one episode at a time. And we burnt through like 6 of these in that first week, and then we were caught up, and it's like now we gotta wait a week for the next one, and it's just been so good. And comparing this to the Lord of the Rings show that is kind of the remake prequel kind of, this is so much better.
Oh, really?
It's so much better. Lord of the Rings is beautiful, like the scenery and stuff, but the story in this is so much better written, in my opinion.
As someone who didn't watch Game of Thrones, at least completely, I know kind of the story and watch.
Then go watch Game of Thrones.
Should I watch this first?
You can. I think this doesn't like spoil anything for Game of Thrones for you, but you actually like you're waiting. You're like, oh, when is this person going to come into play? Like, because it's the prequel, so it's before.
Nice.
It's
awesome. I will do mine next. This is freaking awesome. I'm not going to show it off in VS Code, but they do a great example here. This puts VS Code pets into your browser, and like when I found this the other day, I was just like,
I saw you post on Twitter about it.
Like it just blew my mind. So like anytime you want to just do the normal command palette show a pet thing, it's just killer. Like you can switch cat, dog, and they just kind of float around and hang out. Like it's the best thing ever. It's a virtual pet.
This is the best tool ever.
What were the watches that we had as kids?
Something gachi?
Tamagotchis, yeah.
Wow. They're kind of like that.
Oh, this just made my day so much better. Thank you so much for sharing it.
That's how I felt. It was unbelievable when I saw this. I'm like, this is so
It's like
great.
whole scenes they can live in. It's
I'll
crazy.
probably like lose a lot of productivity, but I'm happier.
Probably we need less productivity, so perfect tool.
Okay, my second pick. This is called the Boolean game. Have you guys seen this before?
No.
So this, for those of you who do like Figma and stuff like that, if you're always getting confused on like how do you do union or like subtraction, this kind of starts to guide you through how to do all that stuff. So for example, to make this shape, you drag the piece. And it's got noises. You probably can't hear them. I don't want to crank it up. But then you do the union and it snaps it in and shows you.
That's really cool. There's a tool like this for Bezier curves that teaches you how to do the curves in Figma.
Yeah.
And I like that one a lot too.
It gets to a point where this is like obviously much more challenging, but with like the subtraction and stuff like that.
I liked that one better with the drop shadows.
Yeah. It gets pretty like advanced. I played it. I don't know if it's a game. I shouldn't call it. Like this one is a great example, right? I would never think to do this, but then you hit subtract. It's like, oh yeah, that's how you do that. I don't know. So I loved discovering that little one. I think I think Alex threw me some curveballs, but he started with this one. So if you want to talk about that one, I'll load your next one next.
Oh, I think that was mine actually.
Oh, was it? I'm sorry.
It's a little Chrome extension that you can use to figure out what fonts other people are using. So quite helpful if you want to steal some cool typography from other people's pages or get some ideas maybe. And I also put another one in our chat. I'm not sure if you can open
Yes,
it.
I will pick
Awesome.
that one next. Here we go. I think that's it.
No, but that's also good to go practice.
Yeah, this was the practice Tetris link.
Yeah. This sounds like a cult.com.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Sounds like a cult.
Yes.
What
If
is this?
you like podcasts or cults, it's a comedian and an author, and they are looking at, like, they call it modern day cults that we all follow, and I'm obsessed. Like I feel like I've listened to all the episodes, and it's so fun. They look at like I don't know, like really popular brands or Instagram, or also some like real cults that are actually dangerous. But yeah, Soul Cycle, for example.
This sounds so interesting.
Is this a newer podcast, it looks like?
I feel like they have been around for 2 or 3 seasons, and one of them has already written a book on cults, and they're like very knowledgeable but very, very funny. So I highly recommend tuning into that one. It's really addictive.
That's awesome.
That site is amazing too.
Yeah, I like the images. That's really cool. I think, Alex, I have one for you. If you have another one, just yell at me.
Yeah, that's the one I shared. So if you are a fan of Tekken like me, I just found out that Netflix released this TV show a month or 2 ago, and I watched it all in one day. It's 8 episodes of 20 minutes each, and it's exactly the same story about Tekken 3, which in my opinion is the more pure story of Tekken, I would say. It's pretty exciting.
I love how people in these, like, if you play a video game and you have this certain one, like mine is Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite one. Like, so everybody that has played like a series of games is like, this was the best one though.
Actually, I played the games, but I did it more to know about the story than the fights, you know.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Well, I think that's all of our perfect picks. I hope everyone enjoys those because they were good ones.
That was some really good ones. Yeah.
For sure.
And thank both of you for coming on.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for the sponsorship from Storyblok as well. Couldn't do it without you guys. We're running on fumes with dollars, so this is so fantastic, and it was great to have you both on and talk about accessibility as well.
Thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Enjoy your conference,
anytime.
Alex. Maybe we'll run into.
Looking forward to meeting you. Yeah. I'll see you next month. Few weeks.
All right. Ciao.
Great. See you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.